What's up, everybody? So, we are down to the last row with a Rahu in houses. And today we're going to be doing Rahu in the 12th house. And what happens when Rahu is in the 12th house in your birth chart. So, let's get started and not waste time. So, what is 12th house? 12th house is a house of your subconscious mind. It is a house full of mysteries because your subconscious mind is full of mysteries. 12th house represents hospitals, jails, and isolated places. This is why it's a house of foreign lands, house of lands across sea, because then it becomes absolute isolated place compared to where you were born. Okay, 12th house is a house of losses, but the thing is, that dynamic has changed dramatically in the past 15 years because of the emergence of internet and global economy. 12th house is not necessarily a house of losses, but house of charity, house where you exert your energy, where you put your energy, where you lose a lot of your energy. Okay, this is why also marriage is seen from the 12th house, Arudha Lagna, meaning Uppapada. Okay, and 12th house represents link to not just international lands or worlds, but link to the intergalactic lands that may be outside the realm of Earth or perhaps the solar system. What is Rahu? Rahu is a smoke-filled shadow planet that puts an illusion in front of your eyes and makes you put illusion in everybody else's eyes. Rahu is that malefic planet that wants to gain all the material things, all the wealth of the world, and keep taking it and never stop. Because it's a planet with the head and no body, so there's no stomach to say, hey, I'm full. It just wants to exert a lot of things in there. It wants everything now and the quickest way possible, and it doesn't want to follow the law. So what happens when these two energy meets in your birth chart? First of all, the obsession of Rahu makes a person connect with people of foreign lands. It gives a person an obsession to go to foreign lands, to travel, to move away from where they are. And Rahu, in doing so, makes a person very independent, you can say, of their family. And it makes a person kind of detached from their family and from probably mother's nourishment, because from the 12th house, Rahu aspects the 4th house of mother's nourishment, parents' home. So it tends to want to run away from it. Okay? And 12th house represents, like I said, it represents jail, hospitals, asylums, isolations, and working behind the scenes. So with this placement, three things come about. A criminal, a spiritual person, or an imaginative person. And these three can also be together as well. What do I mean by that? Rahu is that illusion, that imagination. That illusion, pretty much. And 12th house is their imagination. Like, let's say if I was to write a novel, and the things that are coming in my mind, they're not coming in my mind. They're not held responsible through the 2nd house, 3rd house, or 4th house, or 6th house. That thinking process of me writing that story is connected to my 12th house. And Rahu, who represents magician, illusion, can really amplify an imagination. Okay, and since this position talks about working behind the scenes, like hospital, asylums, jail cells, you don't really see these people interact with the real world. They're in their own little realm. Okay, so this can represent, let's say, a film director who's behind the scenes working. He's not in front of the camera. You don't see Tom Cruise. You don't see a director becoming Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is in front of the camera, but the one who's in charge of this entire cathedral of images and sounds and effects to come together is a director. So it can represent that. And so this is like the positive side of Rahu. who is so imaginative that a novelist is represented by this, a film director is represented by this, somebody who's an artist who just creates music, lyrics writers who have this such imagination is represented by the 12th house. 12th house then goes into the other realm. Like this can represent somebody who is obsession with helping people, who has that desire to be privileged enough into the elites of the ones who help the people who can't help themselves, and that in terms of doctor, medicine man, any kind of a healer. So you can see them working behind the jail cell. I mean, not in hospitals, in ER situations. These guys are very much inclined towards those things. Then there's another side of Rahu. Somebody who might be in such a protector that they want to protect this thing called imprisonment. So they can become jailhouse officers, or they can become the ones who are in there, meaning criminal. Like these guys can do all sorts of things that can land them into jail. A good example would be Martha Stewart, who had Rahu in the 12th house, landed herself into jail, due to her mishaps or whatever you want to call it. So these are and then the third thing that comes out of this, once is a healer, the criminal, okay, and then the third one is a spiritual person, such intuitive imagination that they are able to now link themselves galactically with the beings of other dimensions, with the beings of other worlds, with energies that we cannot comprehend with our five senses. And these guys are able to do that. So Rahu represents these three qualities when it's in the 12th house. Now Rahu also represents international trades. It represents export-import businesses. Okay, not Rahu. I'm sorry, the 12th house. So Rahu can become a very, very good and clever businessman. And usually, in order to be in business, you have to be clever. So when they do these international trades, Rahu is very good at it. And Rahu, who is exotic itself, who is very worldly, who loves foreign things, is really able to grasp some of the foreign ideas about their own world. About let's say somebody goes outside and learns something. They'll come back and implement that thing into their own land and make it better. Because Rahu has that obsession that because Rahu feels it's not privileged enough in life, so it wants to always take that leap forward to where it feels like, okay, I am privileged enough. I have this ability to be admired by people. So they always want to go towards the things that certain house signifies, and 12th house signifies knowing the unknown, the hidden treasure. So this is where a spiritual person can come out of it. A yogi may come out of it. Somebody who is very inclined towards the mysteries of this universe. That means that can also exert to a lab scientist. Somebody who is not discovering like cure to cancer or HIV. Is working behind the scenes, working in a confinement, isolation, in a lab somewhere in Area 51. So you see how these things can come into play. And Rahu strongly in the 12th house signifies settling permanently into foreign lands, because 12th house is isolation. Rahu represents separation, and Rahu aspecting the 4th house of home, of mother's nourishment and parents' nourishment, separates itself and takes a person away from that nourishment. So it definitely represents foreign settlements, permanent foreign settlements. Okay, but like I said, these people may be very imaginative, creative writers and directors. Okay, they can tap into their imaginative energy. So if you're in a profession that requires an imagination, you will excel in that. The desire to be a medicine man, to be a doctor, to work with crazy people, psychos, or schizophrenic people. Rahu loves to be that person. But remember, if let's say Rahu is in conjunction with Mars energy or Moon, that's when you can strongly see somebody who may commit something or who may do such an impulsive act due to either devastation of the mind or the action that can land them into jail. So they have to be very careful of that, because Mars energy makes Rahu say, do it, do it, do it. You want to cheat this person, do it. I think you should hit him on the head so this way this happens and that happens and then you'll get what you want. It makes a person do that. Mind, Rahu, the illusion, can create somebody who might be schizophrenic, somebody who might go insane, so it can represent that, or it might just make a person so clever that he'll cheat everybody out and, take all the money and run to foreign lands. Things like that are seen from Rahu's placement in the 12th house. But the conjunction, if you have this conjunction, also look at the nakshatra, where the nakshatra lord is sitting as well with that placement. Rahu aspects on the 6th house. 6th house is of diseases, of enemies, of litigation. So again, they have to be careful so they don't get into any litigation that will end them into the 12th house of jail. However, this is a good placement to overcome their enemies or to run away from enemies where enemies may not be able to find them. Okay. Then Rahu from the 12th house looks at the 9th house. Okay. I'm sorry, not the 9th house, 8th house. 8th house of mysticism, of occult science, of sudden changes. So Rahu becomes that energy in the 12th house of imagination. So it suddenly wants to become that energy that knows the occult world, the world that is hidden underground, and the world that, that is known as the spiritual one. They want to link these together. So you can really see somebody who wants to take a path of not spirituality, but somebody who wants to perhaps gain access to a higher power and wants to attain some sort of, ability to foresee a future, foresee a vision. It is very much, capable of doing that, this person. So, I can name you several of them. They are not the biggest gurus out there, but they are the gurus that have this. And I know somebody actually told me Satguru has Rahu in the 12th house. And this guy, this guru has the ability to heal himself. And if you watch his interviews too, he said he had some deadly, devastating infection and he just healed it. He broke his leg, and within an hour or so, the leg was fully healed. And this, I think it was a TED interview or some interview that I saw of his. So, they can have tremendous power with these alignments. But one thing you want to make sure with Rahu in the 12th house is sudden burst of anger. Because Rahu looks at the 8th house, okay, and Rahu is sitting in the 12th house of left brain, meaning that it can cause sudden, changes into their temper. Especially if Mars is sitting there, watch out. Moon is sitting there, that means it's just constant brewing of anger. But these people can suddenly erupt in anger, so they need to control that a lot, okay. But anyway, guys, this was my analysis on Rahu in the 12th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above. Otherwise, if you want to know more about astrology, check out my link below. My article's there, and my book, Astrology at the Speed of Light. Otherwise, see you.